because our industry at that time didn't require immigrants, right? It was almost impossible to get a job. I won both the times using desi flavors, using Indian flavors. I made keema pao and I made gushtaba, and I won against goat tartar and a goat burger. So I was born in Ludhiana in Punjab. There were two acceptable careers: engineer,
Yes.
doctor, right? Here, yours truly wanted to be a chef. A lot of people would be like, if she studies a little bit more, if she puts a little bit more effort, she can be an engineer. It's about the mindset, right? When you know that this is it and there's no other option, you make the best of it. It's a mind over matter. When I was at the CIA, I made sure that, I was that obnoxious Indian student who was the front bencher and had my hands up for everything.
So, how did you get your first break as an executive chef?
Right? I had come on something which was called an M1 visa.
Okay.
You couldn't work on it. So over here, I graduated, all the awards. I'm like, this is it. I got it, right? America, here I am. And to me, my biggest philosophy in life is to say yes to everything. And it is up to you to take that opportunity and make the best of it. I think in the end of the day, you have to realize that your authenticity and your skill shines through. Now, baby number 2 wanted to be a part of the opening and decided to be born 3 months early, the day we opened Chauhan Ale Masala House. So Karma was born at 5 in the morning. We opened the doors at 5 in the evening. I mean, if I start writing a book of the number of failures I've had, it's going to be longer than the number of successes. But you guys see the successes, right? If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Guys, welcome to the Rising Immigrant Show. My name is Jasmine. I'm your host, and my job here to bring you inspiring stories so you can get out of the door and chase your own dreams. Today, I'm honored to welcome Maneet Chauhan, an Indian origin American chef, restaurant owner, TV personality, and a mom, whose remarkable journey has made a lasting impact on the culinary world. At just 27 years old, Maneet became the opening executive chef at Vermilion in Chicago, and where she tried her best to blend global flavors with her Indian roots. In 2007, she moved to New York City and opened another location where she gained a lot of recognition for her innovative cuisine. She's a regular judge on Chopped, and she's the winner of the Food Network Tournament of Champions. And she didn't just win this competition once, but she won it twice, in 2021 and 2024. Maneet is the first chef to be a 2-time champion, and she also won a hefty prize of $150,000. She has appeared on several TV shows: The Next Iron Chef, The View on ABC, Iron Chef America, Today Show on NBC, and also a judge on The Worst Cooks in America on Food Network. If this wasn't enough, she has won the James Beard Broadcast Media Award, and she currently runs 3 restaurants: Chauhan Ale Masala House, the Mockingbird, and the Modern Indian Eat, plus 2 breweries in Nashville, Tennessee. So Maneet, we're very thrilled to have you today. Your story is such an inspiration to me, and I hope it can be to so many people out there who are looking out for you.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. That was such a wonderful introduction. Thank you.
Maneet, I want to start with your roots in India. Where were you born? And tell me a little bit about your early years.
So I was born in Ludhiana in Punjab, and my parents they were working in Ranchi. At that time, it was in Bihar. I think it's in Jharkhand now. My dad was an engineer. My mom, teacher, and then she became a principal of Guru Nanak School. So it is. That's where I grew up. I have an older sister, and we grew up in a small community in India where, my dad being an engineer, there were people from all over India. Now, as you know, that in India, each and every region has a very distinct cuisine of its own. But because all my neighbors were from all over, there was somebody from Andhra, somebody from Maharashtra, somebody from, South India. It was just such a wonderful amalgamation of different flavors. And I was that kid who would finish dinner at home, go over to the neighbors' houses, tell them that my parents hadn't fed me, so can I eat with you? And then, the auntie, even if she's having migraine, she would be making dosa for me, or, there would be like poha being made, or to me, I think very early on, I realized that life revolved around food for me. right? I realized
Mm.
that I could connect with anyone when it came to food, even if it was a stranger. Like in India, we used to take train journeys, na? Right? And those train journeys would be like
Mhm.
3 days, 3 nights, because my Nanka was in, southern India, in Bangalore, and
Mhm.
Dadka was in Ludhiana, and those were 3 days, 2 night journeys, right? And whoever would come and sit right next to me, as soon as they would open their, the food basket, I would be like,
I'm familiar with
I
that.
know, I
Yeah.
would be like, what do you have? Oh, that looks really good. And because I was this obnoxious kid, they would offer me something to eat. So to me, I think that was the most amazing part about this entire conversation.
Growing up in India, you developed this love for food very early on. But how did you hear about the Culinary Institute of America? Like, who told you about this? Like, how did that come about?
The time that I was growing up in India, there were two acceptable careers: engineer,
Yeah.
doctor, right? If you're thinking outside the box, maybe an accountant or a lawyer, right? And over here, yours truly wanted to be a chef. And there were a lot of naysayers. A lot of people would be like, you know, if she studies a little bit more, if she puts a little bit more effort, she can be an engineer. And over here, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to be an engineer. And I think I was really blessed that my parents were like, do whatever you want, just make sure you're the best at it,
Mm.
right? Like there shouldn't be any place for mediocrity. And at that time, I wanted to do hotel management. So there were three of the best institutes in the country at that time, right? One was IHM, Taj. There was, of course, there was the Vagsha. And Vagsha was the only institute which was giving a bachelor's degree. The rest of them were diplomas.
Mm.
And my parents were like, education is important.
Right.
So I applied to, actually, I had applied to all of them. I got admitted in all of them, but then made the decision of going to Vagsha in Manipal, which was the Welcome Group Graduate School of Hotel Administration, which so far, I mean, I left, it's
Mm.
been 25 years. It
Mm.
consistently ranks as the top three in India. While I was
Mm.
there, I asked my chef instructor, Professor Tarakan, which was the best culinary institute to go to in the world. And without even batting an eyelid, he was like, the Culinary Institute of America. And that was it, right? I was like, this is it. This is where I want to go. I know I need to put in the effort. I need to do whatever it takes
Mhm.
to just get the best education so that I am making my foundation strong. Because to build a building, you need a strong foundation. And to me, the strong foundation was the education that I was going to get.
Mm. So, what was the process like once you applied for CIA? Like, what happened next? When did you get here? Which year?
I graduated for my undergrad in 98. Of course, I had started applying for,
Mm.
to the CIA. I had a distinct advantage that my sister was already over here. She had come here to go to IU, Indiana University of Bloomington. So she was there.
Mm.
As you know, us Punjabis, we've got relatives everywhere. So my Masi and family were there, my
Yeah.
Chacha and family, a lot of them in, Canada and stuff. So there was a great support system for me. It's not that I just got off the plane and I'm like, here I am. But to me, it was kind of interesting. I applied, I got the admission. My
Mhm.
grades were really good, and that really helped. I still remember I landed in December 98 and my session was starting in January of 99. And of course, I've come from India. I land in Chicago where my sister is, and I had never felt this kind of cold ever in my life. And I was like, oh, I hope this college is worth it because it's really cold. But that was it. I think a lot of things,
Mm.
it's about the mindset, right? When you know that this is it and there's no other option, you make the best of it. It's a mind over matter. And that was it. I When I was at the CIA, I made sure that I was that obnoxious Indian student who was the front bencher and had my hands up for everything, volunteered for everything any chef needed a volunteer. It was me doing it. I actually graduated on the top of my class, the highest GPA, and I got all the awards from my class, which was incredible. And to me, I think my graduation also was extra special because both my dadi and nani were there for the graduation. So it was really it was very special.
Very beautiful. So, did you feel like you had to work extra in order to make it in a place which wasn't home, or was that just your personality?
I always say that there is no elevator to success. There are stairs to success, right? And that is what you have to do. So you've got to put in the effort, and it's definitely my personality. I always put in more than what is required. But then if you only put what is required, then you're not going to get the results, right? You've got to put the more in it. There has to be the je ne sais quoi, right? Like you've got to put that extra in. And to me, I think that is what is important.
No, very well. As you said, there's no easy way to success. I guess we all have to go through that, staircase to be able to get there. So, how did you get your first break as an executive chef? I know you started really early. How did that happen for you?
It was not an easy journey after graduating from the CIA. So of course, you're young, you're so full of yourself. You're like, I went to the best hotel management institute in India. Now I'm in the best culinary institute in the world. That's in your mind, and you're like, the world is my oyster. And then reality sets in, right? I had come on something which was called an M1 visa.
Okay.
Now, at that time, an M1 visa was a trade visa. You couldn't work on it. Usually, for an F1 at that time, you could stay back. You could do an internship and stuff for 6 months. There were some things. So over here, I graduated all the awards. I'm like, this is it. I got it, right? America, here I am. And then, of course, all the jobs that I applied for, because our industry at that time didn't require immigrants, right? It was almost impossible to get a job because everybody would be like, oh, your grades are fantastic. We would love to offer you a job. And then as soon as I would say that, hey, can you sponsor my paperwork, even though I was willing to do all the legwork myself, they're like, oh, we can't, we're not set up for it, right? And in hindsight, I was like, there were some absolutely incredible opportunities with incredible chefs, which I couldn't take advantage of. So at that time, sorry, go ahead.
I said not then, but things
Yeah.
have changed.
Absolutely. I mean, of course, I'm talking probably even before you were born, right? Like ages back. My uncle and aunt, they were opening a restaurant in Cherry Hill, which was it's right on the outside of Philadelphia. It was an Indian restaurant, and they were looking for somebody who had a combination of not only having the management skills but also cooking skills, and because what they were planning to serve was beyond what Indian food was at that time. So while we were talking, they're like, "Hey, listen, I mean, till the time you're looking for something, we'll be happy to sponsor your paperwork if this is what you want to do." And I'm like, okay. And at that time, if in hindsight, I look at it, I was like, I very begrudgingly took it because I literally thought that I'm like, who wants to work in an Indian restaurant? Like I've just graduated from CIA, you have that. And I'm so glad I did that because it gave me a great insight on the perception of Indian food in America. It also lit a fire on my backside that I need to change the perception of Indian food in America, which was, like if I have the skill, if I have the ability, shame on me for not using it. Right. And I think that really changed that opened a completely new world for me because before that I was a baking and pastry student. That's all that I wanted to do because in India you did not get to learn the things that I did at CIA. So I think that's basically where the journey started. And to me, my biggest philosophy in life is to say yes to everything, right? No matter how small the opportunity looks like, no matter how insignificant it may seem at that moment, but I strongly believe that each and every opportunity that comes your way has come your way for a particular reason. And it is up to you to take that opportunity and make the best of it, right? And that's what I've done, and that was it. Like, I was working, went to Chicago, there was a restaurant looking for an executive chef, applied, got it. It was just a series of making the effort of putting one step in front of the other, no matter how heavy that step is, no matter in how much quicksand you find your step in, you still have to make the effort to put one step in front of the other, no matter how slow the progress is. Um, you've got to do it. I mean, it's like, and if you don't do that, then you will not reach a place where, you can say that, okay, I've got like three restaurants and, I'm doing this or I'm doing that. It's all in your hands to do this.
Right. So you spoke a little bit about the perception of Indian food in the US when you first started, and it was more than 20 years ago. Do you think it has changed? What was it then? What is it now?
I still remember I was the only Indian on campus at CIA when I joined. I told all my friends, I'm like, let's go and have some Indian food. And we go to eat Indian food. And it was a buffet, 8.95, all you can eat, greasy buffet. And I'm eating it, and everybody's like, yeah, nice. And I'm like, no, right?
This is
Yeah,
not
because
Indian.
this is not the food that you get in India. It was, and this has been an issue with a lot of ethnic foods, if you think about it, right? With ethnic foods, uh, people started opening ethnic restaurants not because of the fact that they wanted to showcase their food. This was a means to an end. So, means to an end was they needed to provide food for their family, money for their family. And that would mean using the shortest cooking techniques, which usually involve lots of oil, frying, using ingredients which are not the best. So, you cannot blame everyone for it. It's just a matter of that's what it was.
No, that's very rightly said, because a lot of people, when they first came here, most families, they open restaurants because that they and they can get in their
Right.
hands quickly, and plus start making money very quickly. So it's one of the easiest, but to me,
Exactly.
it's a skill. It doesn't come to everybody. But to your point, we can't blame everybody. It is what it is, pretty much. And but that's
Survival.
also given people like you the platform to sort of develop and take it to a next step, right? You came here, you saw that this was not the correct representation of food back home in India. You took it upon yourself and you decided to change that. Now you have three restaurants, right? You have the Mockingbird, you have the Chauhan Masala Ale House. You also have a restaurant in Disney. What type of food are you trying to present at these restaurants? Like what goes on in your head when you're deciding on the menu?
So, Chauhan Ale and Masala House, that's the flagship. We just celebrated 10 years in Nashville. And the menu of that is really fun. It is like, it's food that I would want to eat, right? It is pretty much the food that is served in India right now, which is very different from what our perception of, like Indian food is. To me, it's fun. To me, eating is all about fun. Dining is about fun. It's about interacting. It's about not overthinking. I can't do Eiffel Tower food. I cannot, because I mean, if I have to, I will. But to me, that is not fun, because it has to come from within, right? I want each and every person, as they take a bite, they have this, oh, what did I just eat? It's like in India, when you go street food and have charts, or you have puchkas or golgappas, like that aha feeling. And so that's how the menu is designed. It's like, um, a chicken tikka masala poutine, right? Or you have like whipped paneer with naan, or and then we also do have a traditional Indian section, right? And that's Chauhan. But Mockingbird is more Americana, right? It is, it's got like chicken fried chicken, right? Like things that people really, really like. And then Eat by Maneet, which is in Disney Springs, is a QSR. It's a fast casual. So it's getting Indian food to the masses, right? So you have chicken tikka masala pizza, or like, you have these bowls. So everything which is fun and interactive. And so that's what it's all about.
No, very cool. So, you've been able to strike a chord with the masser audience, like, the general audience, versus just staying core to our sort of, community. How have you been able to do that? What are your thoughts on this? Like, was this like intentional step, or did it happen organically for you? Go through that.
It happened very organically. It wasn't intentional. It was a matter of getting an opportunity, getting my toes in through the door, and then just like blasting the door open, right? I think in the end of the day, you have to realize that your authenticity and your skill shines through, right? There are a lot of people who, and for that, you need to do your homework, right? It's not that you can't just talk the talk. You've got to walk the
Sure.
talk, right? So if I am, if I'm a judge on Chopped, right? And if I'm giving a feedback on something, right? Anybody can give a feedback, right? Everybody gives a feedback. The whole world is a critic, right? But you've got to show that you can go ahead and execute, and that's why these two wins are so important, right? I mean, they're like, you know or in the Food Network world, I'm considered a very fierce competitor because I think on my feet. I am constantly thinking, and to me, the thing that I'm most proud of is, um, like a TOC, because these are recent wins. I won both the times using desi flavors, using Indian flavors. I made I made keema pao and I made gushtaba, and I won against goat tartar and a goat burger. What does that tell you in a blind tasting? What does that tell you about what the masses want, right? They want flavors, right? And in the end of the day, this is what food is all about. You know, um, there is more that binds us together through food than what separates us. And if people would just take that lesson, it would, I think, be a much more delicious world.
Beautifully said. How did this transition happen for you? Because you're in this restaurant space. I'm assuming you're super busy in your restaurant, right? It's a very competitive, it's a very demanding career. You have to be on your feet. Now, how do you make that transition into the TV space? How did your first break come about?
The first break came about was the PR company. Like, I think with restaurants, PR companies have become an integral part of you know your job. It's marketing. That's what it is. So my PR company, they were like, "Hey, Iron Chef, are you interested in competing?" And of course, like, I am from the time where I used to watch the original Iron Chef, the Japanese Iron Chef, and then we had all of them come to CIA, and I was the editor of my newspaper, so I had written a whole article. I had met all of them, so I'm like, what? Wow, yes. And then from there, they saw me. I went against Chef Morimoto, one of the original, Iron Chefs. And from there, they saw me and invited me to be on the next season of the next Iron Chef. And then from there, they invited me to be a guest judge on the second or the third season of Chopped. And then they invited me to be a permanent judge on Chopped. So it was a very organic growth. There wasn't game plan per se that I have to be on TV. Even now, it's like, even with TV, this is not what I do. TV is ancillary, right? What I do is, the restaurant, and that's my main job. So, everything which comes along, you take it and you go with it. But it's not, yeah, you just, as I was saying, you just say yes to everything. You say yes to competing on a national stage against one of the best chefs in the world. You walk away learning things from it, and learning more about yourself than anything else. And I think that's what's important.
Yeah, it's important. I think what you do in the kitchen is your groundwork, and that's what you take, right? That gives you the strength and also the confidence to be who you are on television. Because if that's not with you, I mean, what are you going to take forward? So it is important. What you said resonates with me, that you have to work hard. Your kitchen's your main work.
Yeah.
Like, your restaurant business is your main core, and then whatever happens is happens. How easy or difficult has it been for you being in the media or being a TV personality? Do you think you've faced any challenges while you were on it, or anything that has helped you specifically to do good? Tell me a little bit about your experience in this space.
I think it's always a challenge. There are always naysayers. There are always, people who will try to pull you down. But the interesting part is that it's up to you as to what you focus on. Like a simple example, like social media, right? You put on something there, they'll be like, 1,000 positive, and then there'll be one negative. And because you're a human being, you're going to kind of like really gravitate towards that. But I think it is. I mean, I don't take it as, to me, I look at it as, this is life. This is normal. It's nothing special. It's a job, right? It's a job. It's here today. Enjoy it. It's gone tomorrow. It's fine, right? You cannot be attached to something so much that when it is gone, you live in the past. To me, life is about living in this moment. Okay, it's all about creating the next opportunity. What has happened, right? It's great. It's a part of your resume now. I've done, right? You can't live in that moment, right? To me, I am as relevant as the present victory. Okay, so what if I have won it twice? ठीक है, it's all right. Okay, will I win the next? That's what it's all about.
I guess
So
that's
it's
your modesty to take it that way, but
you have to, right? Like you can't let it get to your head because then I have seen people who just are like, who live in, in their past glory, and it's all right. You got it at that moment, you enjoyed it. Now look at the next moment to enjoy.
um, you donated a significant portion of your prize, $150,000.
No, I actually, yeah,
Like $40,000 of
40,000, yes. The
$150,000.
first time that I competed, yes.
Right, to charity. Why was that important to you?
Well, at that time, it was 2021. It was COVID. We were in whatever said and done. Like I know, I don't want to take away from, the frontline workers and, all the first responders and stuff. But we being in the restaurant industry, we were very much on the front line too. It was a lot to see restaurants fold around you.
Sure.
If I could,
Yeah.
then why not? Right? And it was amazing. There were four different restaurants the first time around that I had the opportunity to give the winnings to, and this time around, whoever got the highest score, and I got it in 2 rounds, and I was able to give another, I think 15,000 away. So yeah, it feels good. It feels good.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That's very good. I love that. If we talk about, scaling your business, first of all, tell me why you chose Nashville. Then second, how did you scale your business to a point? A lot of people who are, watching this show are trying to build something. What has helped you to get to that level? And how did you do it in the first place?
So why Nashville? Nashville, in a way, I will say, chose us
Acha.
because my husband Vivek and I, we are business partners. We met when we were doing undergrad in India, so we go back a long way. And he's the business mind of this. I'm the creative, the yin and the yang, all of that, right? And when I think Chopped had really taken off, and I was getting these calls from all over the country that, hey, would you like to open something here, there, blah 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 blah. And then came a call in between, would you like to open something in Nashville? And both Vivek and I, we look at each other and we're like, who goes to Nashville, right? And think about it, this is around 11, 12 years back when Nashville was not as cool as it's right now. And but we also are the people who explore each and every opportunity that comes our way, no matter how bizarre or how insignificant it might sound. And when we came here, we realized that it would be a very smart business move
Acha.
in the sense that there wasn't any, celebrity presence over here. There wasn't any cuisine like what we wanted to do. So those were the things. But the idea still was that we would open the place over here and commute from New York because we were living in New York and we already thought that we had, we were in the food mecca of the world. Vivek had like businesses in New York, like, all of that. Our son, like, so the 6-month project took around 2 years to happen because it's the South. Everything takes a little bit of time. And along the way, we found out we were expecting baby number two. Now, baby number two wanted to be a part of the opening and decided to be born 3 months early, the
Wow.
day we opened Chauhan Ale Masala House. So Karma was born at 5 in the morning. We opened the doors at 5 in the evening. And then both Vivek and I, we looked at each other. We are like, if he is so adamant in being a Nashvilleian, who are we to stop it? So that's what we did.
Got
We are like,
goosebumps. Oh my God. I
yeah, we
can't
went to
even
New
imagine you
York.
being pregnant
We
and like, giving birth and opening a restaurant the
uh,
same day. Wow.
yeah, it was interesting. So that's what we did. We moved and we were like, and now we are here. We're going to make the best of it. And I'm so glad we did that because, I mean, 10 years through COVID, our restaurant is thriving, and knock wood, it's amazing. And in terms of scaling, I think it's all a matter of, for us, it's the opportunity. right? We do not scale because we have to. We scale because we see an opportunity to scale. So when you are looking at growing or building a business, the biggest thing that I'll say is try not to put a square peg in a round hole, right? You've got to see the opportunity, you've got to see what works for you, okay? What you will be able to sell, and if there is a need in the market, right? And that I think is one of the biggest things. Like, even for example, with Disney, they approached us. They are like, hey, were we afraid? Of course we were afraid. Indian food, Disney, what are you talking about, right? And for us to go ahead and then adapt it to the environment was the next step for us. So I think in terms of scaling, figure out what your skills are. That's very important, right? What your skills are, what your market is, and then go after it. You've got to do your homework, right? It is not a matter of like, jump in the deep end and figure out how to swim. That's not how a business works. You've got to do your homework, you've got to do your legwork, you've got to your finances have to be very strong. And the most important part is your team has to be very strong, right? Because it's not on the basis of you that I mean that the business runs. It's on the basis of your team. You have to constantly inspire, you've got to constantly give them the correct tools to succeed, right? You can't tell them ki acha, go ahead, do this, while you're not giving them the tools to succeed, right? And that is what it's all about. It's a business is never a solo person's success,
Sure.
right? It is your entire team's success, and it's up to you to inspire them to succeed.
So, what type of culture do you build in your restaurants or your business overall? Are you intentional about it?
I'm definitely intentional about it, right? Like the people who we place, you've got to like realize that it's been an evolution process for me, right? Like when I opened Chauhan, I was there all the time, and then Vivek literally had to sit with me, and he's like, "Are you content with one restaurant, or do you want to grow?" Right? And to grow, you have to hand your most precious, your baby, to somebody else to take care of, right? And that is something which takes a lot from somebody who is wants to be in control of everything, right? So there is, I mean, with age comes a lot of maturity in how you evolve as not only a person but also as a business person, right? And I think that is very, very important to just to realize what your strengths are. Like for me, at times I feel like my only job is walking into the restaurant and saying, "Good morning, everyone." Right? It is just a matter of, it seems so, at times, like I'm like, what am I doing, right? But it changes everybody's morale, right? It, to me, I'm challenging the person in front of me. I can come up with a menu in 5 minutes, but I want you to tell me what you think, right? Just yesterday, my entire team, just out of the blue, no reason at all, gave me these sparkly pink sneakers because they know how much I love my sparkly sneakers. And the sweetest card where each and every person had written something, and I'm like crying because it was just like, they're like, "Thank you for inspiring," and "Thank you," like it just, it was the most unexpected, and it really touched me because I'm like, okay, in some way or level, I am inspiring, and I'm trying to grow these people. And then I think one of the biggest things you have to realize is that, your people are not going to be with you forever, right? If they go, they leave, they get another opportunity, you cannot be bitter about it. You've got to be very happy about it, that, okay, I have trained them well enough that they can go out in the world and they can say that, okay, I came from this kitchen. So I think there is a lot to be said about that, about the art of letting go.
It's hard. Like specifically in the restaurant business because there's so much at stake. I feel like the consistency, the people are so key to the business. In anything that moves, it could shift how your food is taken by the consumers, right? So it is very tricky to be able to let go of people who are key to you because it takes, I'm sure it takes a considerable amount of effort to um, get there. Mm, I wanted to get a sense of how you feel about where you are right now. Are you satisfied with where you are? Do you have any other, you know?
So it's a funny question. Am I satisfied where I am? I'm absolutely. I'm very happy where I am. Am I satisfied? No, I'm not. I will never be satisfied because if I'm satisfied, then I'm not going to push myself to the next level. And what is the next level? I don't know. It's whatever opportunity that comes my way, right? Let's put it in the way that I'm satiated, but I'm not satisfied, if that makes sense.
Good, good. So you can always keep, constantly keep evolving while you, feel comfortable where you are. If I talk about your creative process, what is it like? Do you evolve, create on the job, or do you set out like a separate time, like, okay, we're going to think about our menu and see what we can do here? What's the process?
To me, creativity is everywhere. It's at every moment. You're right. You can't schedule a time for creativity. I mean, let's backtrack. I can't schedule a time for creativity, right? To me, creativity is everywhere. To me, creativity comes from having a conversation with you. To me, creativity comes in, seeing something on television and I'm like, huh. To me, creativity could be like Vivek and I were in Montreal having, after one beer too many, having some poutine and saying that, huh, right? So to me, creativity is comes from any place and anywhere. The one thing which I've learned about myself is that when I am under stress, like competition cooking, my creativity is at an all time high because I'm like, okay, this is what I have, this is what I need to come up with, move. And that's worked for me.
Good. I mean, it's good you thrive under pressure because most people would like get nervous. It's not an environment for everybody. I know.
Oh, I get nervous. I'm absolutely I'm definitely nervous, but once that clock starts, I'm like, this is it. I need to do this. And that's it. It somehow works.
I saw an episode where you made something out of onion puffs. I think it was onions, like a onion snack, some sort of a puff, and then you had a lasagna, and you had another really asparagus. You had three very weird ingredients. I mean, weird in a way that they don't really go well with each other. So when it comes to like creating something out of like things that don't go well, like what was your thought process then? I know it was one of the episodes of the tournament.
I have no idea what I don't recall. I'm like once it's done, it's done. My thought process is just trying to figure out what is common. What is common among the three of them, right? Like or there is always a thread. There's always a thread. You have to find the story, right? Like and that's it. At times it's like to me, if it's the onion puffs, maybe I'll do that as a focal point and then I'll go ahead and figure out how to evolve from there. Okay, like maybe I'll get some chicken and use that as, something like what pulls everything together. It really depends. I wish I could say that there was a method to the madness because if there was a method to the madness, I would bottle it and sell it and retire. But that there isn't. There really isn't.
I'll remind you, you made a asparagus gazpacho with something like a pakoda, but like a fritter made out of lasagna and the onion puffs. And I'm like, while you were doing it, I didn't know what you were gonna make. I'm like, she has to make like a pakoda, like something out of like, the Punjabi in me was like asking for that. And I'm like,
Right.
she does. And you did, which
And the
was great.
Punjabi in me was definitely delivering it. So yes.
Good. How do you sort of stay inspired and continue to innovate as a chef and as an entrepreneur?
It's called the attitude of gratitude. That's it. I am very grateful for each and every opportunity that comes my way. I'm very grateful for each and every person that I meet. And that's it. That's how I'm constantly keeping myself. I need to keep myself excited about new things. And that's how I keep myself excited. It's just like, yeah, the attitude of gratitude. That's it.
Now, I see your cooking videos on Instagram. You're very active on social media. You are in the restaurant
We're
business,
part of our jobs now,
very
right?
demanding. And then you have your TV, media work to do. How do you find the time, or how do you stay productive through all of it? Like, how do you fit it all? And you're the mom.
I don't overthink it. To me, it's like what I'm making for dinner. I just put the I just put my phone in front of it. What I am making, I'm just recording it and then, you know, editing it and putting it out. And
Right.
it is that's why what I laugh is I'm like, you know, if any professional sees it, it's like the worstly produced, the worstly lit, like those are like such. But I'm like, this is it. I'm making this for dinner. Okay, I'm making paneer bhurji. Okay, great. I'll just put, you know, the camera in front of me and I'll just record what I'm doing. It's nothing. This is what I cook at home. This
Got
is what the kids are getting for dinner. So I am like, I'm already, you know, I am cooking, so I might as well use it as content and just like, you know, be more efficient about it. That's it.
As an audience, I mean, it gives me an insight into your life. And also, I'm a mom. I need to make dinner every night and I'm looking for inspiration. So I'm like, what is Maneet making tonight? Let's go check out her page.
And that is pretty much what I do. I'm like, yeah, okay, like it is like yesterday was Super Bowl, and I'm like, okay, I need to do something really, really simple because at times I see that people just they start coming with ideas which are so evolved, and I'm like, cooking is not about that. Cooking is like have fun. And then when people start taking stress about food, I'm like, no, right? Just have fun. It's all about like you're going to give, you know, enjoyment to someone, so just do that.
Very good. If you were to give one piece of advice to somebody who's just starting out in the restaurant business or trying to establish their foot in the door, uh, what would you say to them?
My biggest advice would be just be authentic,
Hmm.
right? And authentic doesn't mean authentic Indian food. Authentic doesn't mean that you've got to make dal like how your mom made, right? That's not what authentic is. Authentic is who are you and how do you put yourself in what you are doing. That's it, right? Try not to copy other people. Get inspired from other people, absolutely. But copying other people is not going to have your, you know, your signature on the dish, right? And you've got to set yourself apart, right? There are hundreds and hundreds of people who are making the same dish. How do you set yourself apart, right? And that I think is very important. So when you're young, and it doesn't happen overnight, right? It takes years and years to come up with your voice. It um, it takes years and years to make mistakes, which in my book are more important than, you know, all your triumphs, right? The amount that I've learned from my mistakes, that is the most valuable learning experience I've ever had in my life. Okay, and I'm like, when I make mistakes, I'm excited about it because I don't let it get me down. I'm like, okay, this is what I did wrong. Now I know what not to do again, right? And that is it. Failure is a part of life. Just don't don't failure should be a comma, it shouldn't be a full stop. That's all that I can say, right? That's fine. You failed, great. I can't even, I mean, if I start writing a book of the number of failures I've had, it's going to be longer than the number of successes. But you guys see the successes, right? It's like the tip of the iceberg. 90% of the work, and then, you know, get to see 10%.
I think we can apply this to like all fields and everywhere.
Everything.
Yeah, not just the restaurant business
No.
or being a chef, but I feel like when I was listening to it, I'm like, okay, taking notes. Very helpful. Maneet, if while you were talking about your failures, is there like a specific instance you remember that has shaped who you are today?
Lots. I think I mean I think there's so many struggles that we all go through to get where we are. There was a restaurant which we opened, Chattable, which was street Indian. It was like, you know, this was like Vivek and I, what we grew up on, right? Charts and like everything fun. But that never survived COVID, right? We had to make hard decisions through COVID, and that never did. And it still has a very special place in our heart. But it was one of those really tough decisions that we had to make, where, you know, emotionally we were so attached to the place, but we had to cut the cord to make sure that, you know, we don't lose money. So it had to be a very strategic, cerebral cerebral decision that had to be made as opposed to an emotional. If emotion was there, we could have kept on dragging it, and then all we would be in like red, or just made the money, made more than the money. Now's the time to just stop. So those are the decisions, and as you get older, you realize there are some decisions that need to be made from your head, and then some decisions that need to be made from your heart.
Good balance, because business is about being at the right place, right time, and also making the right decisions. How
Absolutely.
does that insight come to you? We spoke about that earlier as well. You said like you got to do your homework. What does that mean? Like if you were to talk to me and say, Jasmine, you got to do your homework. What does that mean to somebody?
Okay. For example, I mean, and of course, I always say things in the food industry, right? Somebody wants to open a restaurant, somebody wants to open a business. And I've had conversations with so many people, especially around COVID time. There were a lot of people who were reaching out, who were looking at, doing businesses, and they would reach out to me and they're like, I have an idea. An idea is fantastic, right? Idea is the starting of a business. But then, like, to me, I would be like, I said, okay, tell me, how are you going to make money? Right? You're in business to make money, you're in business to grow. How are you going to make money? How are you going to take that passion of yours and make it into money? Right? Restaurant, let's say somebody wants to open a restaurant. Okay, great. Show me your books. Show me what projections you've done. Show me if you've done your homework as to saying that, like basic business plan, that is your homework. Basic projections, that is your homework. Okay, basic investment in marketing, that is your homework. Right? You just can't have your heads in the cloud and say ki, yeah, khana, like I make really good food, I'm going to make money. No, you're not. Right? Are you in the correct space that people are going to come to your restaurant? Is it safe? Okay, how much is the rent per square foot? Right? What is the ROI on that? All of this is, you've got to do your homework. You just cannot say ki, oh, I have an idea, now money will come. No, it won't. Absolutely not. Everybody has idea. Everybody has a great idea. But do your homework. Figure out where you're opening the place. It is, I mean, why do people go to business school? Right? They go to business school to learn how to run a business. It's not that everybody can do it. And surround yourself with smarter people than you. To me, I'm like, that's the reason why I'm over here, is not because I am the smartest. Far from it. It's like everybody around me who is smarter than me, who can come up with better ideas. That's what it's all about. And one of the biggest things that you should really throw out of the window whenever you're starting a business or a new endeavor, your ego, throw it out of the window. It has no space. Okay? You've got to be open. It's a collaborative effort. Even though your name, would be the loudest, right? But also keep in mind, if you get the most amount of glory, right? If things go wrong, you're the person who gets the most amount of BS, right? So keep that in mind.
Yeah, very important. I need to take that in. There was a lot in there. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
You spoke a little bit about marketing, right? How it's important for a restaurant. Where do you see someone who is starting a new restaurant or is just like, early in the business should put in the money? Like, which aspect of marketing do you think is the most helpful?
I believe strongly in PR,
Take it.
right? Which is, just let people know about what you're doing. And I think that's very important. At the present moment, social media has become a very important outlet for you to tell the world what you're doing and how you're doing it. And I do think that these two are important aspects. But don't go with, try to find somebody who's young and hungry, right? Somebody who has a completely different perspective, right? At times, you have to find somebody who can relate to a brand, somebody who can tell your story. And I think that is very, very important.
Makes sense. So
Yeah.
you said two things. You said investing in PR, like a PR firm or a PR agent, somebody who can help you get your name out there. And the second would be to establish some sort of a presence on social media to, communicate or tell your story to your clients.
Yeah.
Those are very helpful. I'm going to move on to a fun section. You offered a lot of good advice to me, and I'm hoping that this would help anybody who's sort of starting out in the business. Thank you for that. But wanted to ask a few questions that I was very curious about. First of all, which is your favorite dish?
To eat or to make?
Both. Let's start with what you like to have, and then go with what's your favorite dish.
So it's going to be a combination of things. So if it was the last meal that I would ever have, Vivek makes an incredible chicken curry with rice, and my mom's aloo methi with fresh butter and parantha. That would be my last meal.
Very good, very
Yeah.
good. And any chef who you really look up to, or whose food that you've really enjoyed in the past?
Everybody, anybody who's in this industry is somebody that I really look up to. I do have a particular admiration for, in India, the street food, the street food, the people who make street food. For some reason, they're not called chefs, but I think that they are the best chefs in the world, only because they have limited resources, limited ingredients. Everything is made fresh in front of you. I do have a very special place in my heart for them because of what they can create in limited spaces, limited ingredients, limited resources. The amount of they are the real chefs, right? Like you can get an amazing chef and give them the best of ingredients, and then if you make a great dish, great.
Sure.
What is the skill? You got the best ingredient. But
Right.
think about it, like the street food, and not only in India, it's all over the Southeast Asia and all. The street food vendors who can take the basic of ingredients, right? And just like put magic into that. There's something that has a very deep respect. Like I have deep respect for them.
Oh, that's amazing. And you know what? The I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but they get so much instant feedback. They have so many people, they go through so many people in a day because they're out on the street, like they're getting that feedback. So I feel like they perfect it to the T. They know what resonates with people and what people want to have. So I feel like they've perfected that over time also. So
I
which
mean,
is
it's like if you go to like Chandni Chowk and stuff, there are people for generations,
oh,
right? Like there's a kulcha wala who's like for generations just like making kulcha, or you go to Paranthe wali gali, or like jalebi wala. Like I swear, like it is such to me it's just, yeah, and that's what my last book was about. It's called Chart, and it's about, like, I went to India and I explored, because to me it is, I think they are the true chefs. Humko chefs, people, we are called chefs, but they go ahead and weave the true magic from limited resources and ingredients.
yeah, so much to learn from the street chefs.
True.
Which ingredient can you not do without? Like, what's your favorite ingredient?
Love. Just being corny right now. I don't
I think
I don't restrict myself to ingredients. I'm like, because especially when you're doing competition cooking, there are a lot of ingredients that, if something needs hing and I don't have hing, what am I going to do? Like, so you've got to kind of be very creative about it.
interesting. Yeah, I guess you gotta also work with whatever you have. So,
Yeah.
very good. Is there any final message you would like to share with my audience, the audience of Rising Immigrant Show?
I mean, to me, I think it is the biggest thought that I would put across is that if I can do it, anybody can do it. Right? It all matters. It all comes down to how determined you are, how passionate you are about what you are doing, and how much hard work you're willing to put in. That's it. There is no secret for success. This is it. It all depends on you. How much you are willing to work for you to succeed.
Well, we'll end on that note. That was a very beautiful message, pretty much your secret to success. Thank you so much, Maneet, for giving us the time today. I know you have a
Thank
very busy
you.
schedule managing TV, food, restaurant, kids, everything. Thanks for taking out the time to talk to me today. I learned a lot, and this was an absolutely like heartwarming conversation for me. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Pleasure.